Hey guys, Wilhelm1407 here. Welcome to my second tutorial on how to make custom wooden supports. If you haven't already watched the first tutorial, I'll leave a link to that in the description below. Today I will be covering how to support level, banked, and sloping banked turns. In my last tutorial, I talked about how I like to lay down a base for my supports first, and then work my way up from there. Here I wanted to give you guys a reference to what the base will look like for turn segments. So I created an overview of the small, medium, and large turns. And I used bright red beams to show the shape of each turn's base structure. Okay, so as you can see here, I have this turn built here. So I'm just going to start off with the level turn and work my way backwards. That might seem odd, but it's best to know how to build just a level turn before you attempt to do banked turns. So we're going to be using Big Burger's timber again. And I'm going to build the base for this before we do anything, so figure out where this goes. So I'm going to place one where the track goes, and then I'm going to go all the way down and count up 2 meters, and then click there. And because this is a medium size turn, we're going to need 1 grid like that on one end, and then we're going to use the diagonal piece, diagonal horizontal piece, and place it like that at the very bottom and the top. And then we're going to turn it 90 degrees, go like that, on the top and the bottom again, turn it again 90 degrees, place that there, and just make complete the square here. And then we're going to go back to the horizontal piece, and we're going to fill in this transition kind of triangle shape here, and do the same thing on the other side. And then we're going to build that same kind of grid shape, square shape section here. And I apologize if I am speaking not very clearly, or my thoughts aren't together, because I'm kind of filming this late at night, so... but anyway, so we've got that. We've got our base, and we've got the top section built, and so now all we have to do is fill in the rest of this. So, like we did in the first segment, click... start here, and then count up 4, and then count up another 4. That's only 3, so we're only going to have 2 more layers here underneath this top section. So just duplicate this twice. So once you've completed this, this much, you go in and you fill in with the 4H pieces on the horizontal parts, and on the top here you're going to use a 3H because it's right under 4H. Now we come to the diagonal pieces. You'll want to use the diagonal 4H pieces here and here, like that, and then the 3H pieces on the top. So once you have that done, then you just go in and you place your diamond shaped braces again, like we did in the last video, except they're going to look a little bit different on the inside because there's not as many spots to fill in, so I'm going to work on the outside first. Fill that in with a diagonal piece, or the diagonal pieces here, and then go back to the horizontal pieces. Not really horizontal, but angled pieces. Horizontal angled pieces. So, because this doesn't have the same number of grids to fill in on the as the outside does, I generally just go with what this side looks like, and I fill that in first. And then I go in and you can really go either direction, but since this is a medium piece, this works fine. Now they're not going to match perfectly. Like this side's going this way on the top, and it's going the opposite direction on the top on the side, but that's really not that big a deal. And so now we can do our vertical pieces. And you just use the plain vertical pieces on the outside, and then when you come to well, the diagonal pieces, you want to use the diagonal vertical pieces, and those are below these angled half pieces in the list, so they're right here. And there's really only 4 spots on this that you need to place them at, and that's in this kind of grid here. So place them on the outside and on the inside. And that is how you do a level turn. Now, I think I'm going to do the footers at the very end of the video because stopping to do each section would be kind of annoying, so I'm just going to go ahead and fill in some of the supports that I didn't get to here. Okay, so now basically doing a banked turn it's similar to doing a level turn, but you have to add a few extra things. So we're going to start off just like we would with by starting with the base. Now, because this is so glued to the ground, there really isn't going to be a lot of there really aren't going to be any layers under this other than the base, so we're just going to build the base like we did the last time. And these are all medium length turns, so, and I'm messing this up already. I need one more grid. Okay, so we've got our first grid, and then we go to the diagonal piece. Place it like that. Go back to our horizontal piece. And then connect those, and you have your base. Then what you want to do is you want to get the diagonal pieces and you want to tilt them in to kind of match the turn. Now you just kind of count up till, really you don't need to go any higher than like a 3H piece. I think anything higher than that looks kind of strange. Really, looking at this now, I haven't done a... I've mostly worked with the Woden CT. Really 2H pieces I think are going to look best here, because it's not much higher than the track on the right side here. So place the diagonal angled pieces there on the base like that, and then you'll use the 2H horizontal angled piece right here. So you have these kind of, and then on the transition, let's see, it's been a while since I worked with these. So the transition, I think you use, on the transition here between level and banked, you want to use a 1H piece, because if you use a 2H, it intersects the track. So use a 1H piece there on the transitions. Now, because there isn't a transition on this end, we'll just use, well, actually, I take that back. We will be using a 1H because it's intersecting for some reason. Like I said, it's been a really long time since I've built a wooden coaster with the track that comes with the game, because I am spoiled with the Woden CT. So now basically what we're going to do is we're going to trace the shape of these here angled pieces. So really we need a horizontal piece here, and then I believe a 1H piece there, and then another horizontal piece, and then a diagonal horizontal piece back to the regular horizontal piece, and then another 1H. And then we're going to add our other braces. This, I need a 2H there, and the rest of this will be 2H pieces. And this last piece will be a 1H. And so then you just add your vertical pieces. And then we need the diagonal vertical pieces. And that is how you build a banked turn. It's just adding that banked layer on top of the base, that top base that you normally would build. Oh, there's one last thing I forgot. I forgot to add a 1H piece on this end of the transition, so be sure not to forget that. I mean, it's not super noticeable if you forget a piece here and there, but okay, so this one will be a little bit more challenging because it is at an angle. So we're gonna build the base, and just the base first. So there's the grid for the transition, and this is the grid for the turn. Grid for the transition, grid for the turn. And then actual turn. Alright, so we have that. Now, I've already got this part of the structure built, so I can just use these as height marks, or height markers for what I need to place in here. And I suppose the first thing I should do, actually, would be the angled pieces that go under the track. So, for example, like here, we need a 3H piece, and then a 3H piece down here, so I can delete that piece. These bank turns, you will be using 3H pieces on the sloped banked turns. Now I need, I believe, a 3H diagonal angled piece. Or if I really trying to think how to make this look the cleanest. A 2H actually is going to look better because it's going to kind of keep a consistent slope when you trace the outside. It may not match the 3H pieces, but it's going to look better than if you put a 3H there, because you'd have this level piece of wood, and then like as you're tracing, instead of sloping, it would be level, and then it would go to a really steep slope. So now on this lower portion, I would say honestly a 4H would work right there. So 3H, 3H, 2H, 4H, 3H, and another 3H. And then you just want to trace those real fast with your wooden pieces. So it's going to go 2H, and then you're going to need a 3H, and then a 1H, and on the other side you're going to need a 3H, and then we can do the diagonal section here, which is a 1H on that side, the outer side, and on the inner side it's going to be a 3H. And now we can go back to our regular angled pieces. So a 1H, and then a 2H, and on the other side a 2H, and then a 3H. So now you have the top section built, and you're going to be able to see where you can stop building the second layer when you run out of room eventually. So we just build this second layer underneath the base, and I've already kind of started to run out of room, but right here, like, you can see this is only 1H difference, so instead of putting a horizontal piece there, just put an angled 1H there, and it'll work fine. It won't harm anything. And then instead of using a horizontal piece there, on like that, you just use another 1H diagonal angled piece. And then back to this side here. Now, because I did that with, we did the 1H angled piece there, we're going to want another 1H angled piece, and then just keep that 1H and turn it around this direction, and then connect it there, and you'll have your layer, your second layer for this turn. It's a little wonky looking. It's not perfect, perfectly level. Now with this top section, just take your horizontal piece and go all the way over, like that, and then because this obviously is going to go through the track, find another angled piece that will fit in there. So it's going to be a 2H. A 2H will fit there. And you just put a 2H right there. And because I have accidentally placed a beam in the wrong place, I am going to take this track and delete it for just a second, so I can get in there and get that piece because the in-game supports won't let me. And now you can kind of see the shape of what the support looks like. It looks probably rather strange at this point. And I'm actually going to go ahead and just finish the supports like this without the track, because that way it'll kind of give you guys a better idea of what I'm doing. It's a little harder to see with the track in the way, so we're going to start at the top, or the tallest side, and fill this in with our 4H angled pieces. Place another 4H angled piece, and then we're going to use a 2H angled piece. Switch to the diagonal angled pieces. You'll need a 4H, and then another 2H. And then down here, we're going to need a 3H angled piece. And then switching from the diagonal pieces to the regular horizontal angled pieces, we're going to need another 3H. And that's it. Now, we just need to finish our side braces. What I keep referring to as these diamond-shaped braces. And I'm just going to fill those in. Now we're going to switch from the horizontal angled pieces to the diagonal angled pieces again, and we're going to use the 4H pieces on the outside, and on the inside another 4H, like that. And then you're done doing the inside portion. You just need to finish doing the outside. So we're going back to the regular angled pieces, and we're going to use a 4H on this little section here, and then a 2H there, and then a 3H right there, and just reuse that 3H. Now, because these don't, if I had worked the same pattern that I started with the diamond-shaped braces on this end, it would line up perfectly here, but I didn't do that. I worked backwards from this, so it's not going to be, they're not going to line up like the rest of it, but whatever. Now we can go in with our horizontal pieces and fill in what needs to be filled in. And remember to use the diagonal pieces on the inside and the outside of the portion that is, well, diagonal. Okay, so we've got that. Now I can go ahead and place the track back where it belongs. And I need to go back in with my RCT3 options and change that so I can have intersecting track, because I had to reinstall Windows. I upgraded from 8 to 10 just recently, and my options file needs to be edited once more. So I will probably do a short tutorial on that later. So that's basically how you do a turn. So now I'm going to show you guys how to do the braces on the outside of a turn, which they're a little bit different than what we did last time in the last video, but they're pretty easy. So you place the base for it like that, and we're gonna go ahead and connect all these pieces here like so. They're gonna look like that. And then you take a diagonal piece and go horizontally, or diagonally like that. And it will look like this. Now you want to take your horizontal 4H angled pieces and do the same thing. Oops. Do the same thing that we did in the last one, where they go like that, outward. Now on the inside, and you are just going to, where this goes out like that, just put your angled pieces facing that same direction. So that one goes out that way, so that one's going to face that direction. This goes that way. This piece is going to face this direction. And you get this shape here. And then, like we do with the sections underneath, where the pieces face the they're 180 degrees the other direction from the top, like that. You do the exact same thing for these parts on the diagonal section. So this gets filled in like that. And then you just do your other braces. I need a 4H there, and a 4H there, another there, and you've got most of it done. You just need your vertical pieces. Whoops. I need a diagonal piece there. I don't know what I'm thinking. Diagonal, diagonal, diagonal. And that is... Oh, last step. Your 4H. Continuing the diagonal pattern up onto the top of the brace, like that. It's optional, but I think it looks good. I think it makes it look better. And that's how you do the braces on the side of a turn. Now, if you had, say, like one more meter or H, this track was a little bit higher and it was also a 4, what you could do is, instead of just using a 4, you could use an 8, and that would give you more of a sloped look. And I don't have anywhere to work an example for that, unfortunately. So I may do another tutorial on wooden supports. I know I will probably have to do one for the Woden CT, because the transitions are a little... There's a lot more transitions on that, but it's a really good CT to have. It's just a lot more complicated to build with. Now I'm just using the footers that come with Big Burgers. God, it is really late, I'm sorry. Big Burgers, and you really want to watch out for the diagonal pieces. You don't want to put a horizontal footer on a diagonal plank, basically. Like I just did. Okay, so diagonal. Now, if you're using the round footers, you really don't need to worry about that. But I personally like to use these square footers. It's just a personal preference. You can use whatever footer you want. Honestly, I think if you're going to use the round footers, be sure you're using these the 20 centimeter timber set instead of the 30 centimeter, because I think that the 30, because it's so thick, it looks very odd with the round footers. They look almost too thick to actually fit within that footer. So, and then the last step is this metal base here that goes on top of the footer. And this has been how to make custom supports for wooden coaster turns, level banked and sloped banked turns. I hope it was helpful. I know I'm sometimes not the greatest at explaining things, so I hope I explained it clear enough. And I know this can be very frustrating if you're first starting out, so just don't give up if you get frustrated. This took me a very long time to learn how to do, and it just took me a really long time to get the hang of it. And the way I build might not be the best way that you build. You might find that you find another method easier, or better. So, you know, this is really just how I build, and so once you kind of start to figure out how these structures work on your own, it'll become easier, and you might even you develop your own building style, so, or method, I mean. So, anyway, that's it for this tutorial, and I will see you guys in my next one.